Hello and welcome to another episode of The Tipping Point, a UFC stat show right here on the Monkmatics channel. I am your host Monk, aka The Monkmatician, and in this series, we choose one fight from an upcoming card and we go deep into the stats. Maybe you don't know which side you're on, maybe you can't figure it out. Hopefully this show, by the end of it, will tip you in the right direction. And in this particular episode, as you can see, probably not going to need much help being tipped one way or the other. We have Islam Makhachev against Dan Hooker. So without further ado, let's get right into the numbers here. Makhachev versus Hooker. This is a lightweight fight. Makhachev 5'10", 70-inch reach, southpaw stance, 29 years old, almost 30. In fact, he'll be 30 before this fight kicks off. Professionally, he is 20-1. In the UFC, he is 9-1. 38% of his professional fights have gone the distance, 8 wins, no losses. 19% of his fights have been ended by way of KO, TKO, 3 wins, 1 loss, and 42, almost 43% have come by way of submission win. 9 wins there. Average fight time in the UFC, 10, almost 10 and a half minutes, not quite. His ass whoop index, 18.39 on average. That is the 6th highest out of 80 fighters that I have logged in my database for the lightweight division. Power index 0.85, pretty decent number there, 23rd out of 80. Chindex though 1.25, 68th out of 80 lightweights. Not a good look there, so he has been knocked down at least once. Let's go over to the other side. Dan Hooker, 6 feet tall, 75-inch reach, so significant height and reach advantage here for Hooker. Switch stance fighter, 31 years old, 21-10 professionally, 11-6 in the UFC, 4 wins by decision, 6 losses professionally. 38% of his fights have ended by way of KO, TKO, 10 wins, 2 losses. 29% have ended by submission, 7 wins, 2 losses there. Trains out of City Kickboxing, obviously, as you know that. Makhachev out of Fight Spirit Team. Average fight time for Hooker, 10.63 minutes. Average ass whoop index, 6.8. So a pretty decent number there, nowhere near Islam Makhachev though. Power index 0.78 and Chindex 0.24. So pretty low, nowhere near as high as Makhachev there, but you still don't want to see that, anywhere above 0, honestly. This fight opened Makhachev minus 300. It has been completely juiced, minus 638. Dan Hooker on the other side opened plus 250, currently plus 445. Tons of line movement here. Minus 104 fight does not go to decision. Minus 130 does go to decision. Makhachev is even odds to win by decision. Plus 137 to win inside the distance. Hooker, they're just counting him out completely. Plus 800 inside the distance. Plus 1150 by decision. I'm capping this much more narrow than Vegas currently has it. 61.5% for Makhachev, 38.5% for Hooker. Advanced line stats for these two guys. Makhachev 9-1 as a favorite. 8-0 as a big favorite, which I define as greater than or equal to 65% implied odds, which we are way past at this point at 86%, according to Vegas. He has never been an underdog in his 10 fights in the UFC. Dan Hooker, 2-3 as an underdog, and 1-2 as a big underdog, less than or equal to 35% implied odds. So he has pulled off a win there from odds like that before, but we'll have to check who it was. I know it wasn't Islam Makhachev. Couple of finishes here. 4 sub wins for Makhachev in the UFC, 1 TKO, and we have 6 TKO wins for Hooker, 2 submission wins there. Round by round finishes. Makhachev has 2. These guys together have 7 round 1 finish wins. 2 round 1 finish losses. 3 round 2. Lots of finishes here. Get into some basic striking data. Makhachev 2.24 strikes. And if I say strikes, I mean significant strikes. 2.24 strikes landed per minute. At a 58.79% accuracy, gets hit with only 0.77 strikes per minute. At a 70.37% defense, those are the top 2 numbers right there. Gives him a differential of 1.48 significant strikes landed per minute. That is 18th highest out of 80 fighters. 29% efficiency. I mean, spent 38.55% of his total fight time fighting at distance. 2 knockdowns logged, 1 knockdown against. Dan Hooker lands 4.95 strikes per minute at a 48% accuracy, gets hit with 4.66 strikes per minute, 52% defense, giving him a grand total of 0.29 strikes per minute differential, 40th in the division, right in the middle there. He is positive efficient as far as striking goes. 71.31% of his total fight time has come at distance. Let's see here. Interesting to note, when Dan Hooker throws over 100 significant strikes, which has happened in 8 fights, he lands 5.71 per minute. That's over his 4.95 regularly, and he wins half of those fights. Does not do well when facing over 100 strikes, significant strikes. Only won 2 of 7 of those fights there. 7 knockdowns for Dan Hooker, giving him a 0.58 knockdown per 15 rate. Very good. 21st out of 80. Has been knocked down twice. We'll move on to basic takedown data. Makhachev lands 3.31 per 15. 65.71% accuracy. Gets hit with only 0.29 against per 15. 88% takedown defense. Fantastic. Has an 8.79 takedown shooting rate. That is the 12th highest shooting rate in the division. Takedown efficiency is astronomical, 53.95. His takedown lands per 15 differential, 8th highest at 3.02. I mean, my goodness. Dan Hooker, significantly less, as you can see here. Less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes, 36% accuracy. His takedown defense, very good, 80%. So we'll have to see how that lines up against Makhachev and his takedown ability. And Dan Hooker only getting, opponent's takedown shooting rate 3.69. That is very low. While we said Makhachev shoots, almost 9%. Move on to basic control time data. Makhachev, 51.49% control time. 5th highest number in the division. This guy's had 10 fights at over 10 minutes apiece on average. That is no joke as a number for control time. 51.5%. Control time against less than 10%. 5-to-1 ratio, better than that actually. 61.45% of his total fight time has come inside the distance, and Islam controls 83.8% of that fight time. 13th best number in the division. Just ridiculous. Dan Hooker, 2-to-1 control time ratio. 19.5 to about 9. Fights 28.69% of his total fight time inside the distance. Controls 67.9% of that time. Has a very good get-up time. 19th in the division. Has a very good hold-down time as well. Don't know if you want to choose to be here with Islam, though. Submission data. Islam, look at this. 57.14 submission success rate. That is really good. Submission attempt rate, 3rd highest in the division, 1.76%. It doesn't sound like a lot, but believe me, it is. 100% submission defense rate for both Hooker and Makhachev. Hooker with 2 out of 3 submissions of his own. Several reversals for both sides here. Advanced significant striking data. I mean, the accuracy and defense is all Makhachev, and these are all top 10 numbers, top 20 numbers for the most part. The volume, the offensive volume, head, body, legs, and distance is Dan Hooker, but everywhere else, especially every defensive category, is Islam Makhachev, and it's not too close. I mean, Hooker has some decent numbers in some of these categories. These are top 10 numbers defensively, almost across the board for Makhachev. Advanced significant striking efficiency and differentials. I mean, just repeating myself at this point. Look at this efficiency from Makhachev. His lowest efficiency category is inside the distance at 18.31%. Insane. Meanwhile, Hooker, negative efficiency everywhere except for leg striking and barely in distance striking. Hooker's differentials, not really much to speak about. Pretty even for the most part. His leg strike, almost half a leg strike per minute above his opponents. But Makhachev, I mean, 1.22 head strike differential per minute, half a distance strike, 1/3 of a body strike, 1/3 of a clinch strike, 0.7 ground strike per minute. Looking great there. Not so many leg kicks, though. Advanced significant striking percentages. Kind of pick these stats out where I feel like they look pretty good. 79% of the punches Islam Makhachev has thrown, significant strikes rather, have been targeted to the head, 18% to the body, and only 2% to the legs. Meanwhile, Dan Hooker, 75% to the head, 11, almost 12% to the body, and 13.5% to the legs. Meanwhile, Makhachev, 26% of the ground strikes he's thrown have been, from the strikes he's thrown have been on the ground, 8th highest in the division. There is a graphical representation of those categorical strikes. And then our last 5. 5-0 is Islam Makhachev in his last 5 fights in the UFC. Dan Hooker 3-2. Dan Hooker does win a few of these categories here. Strikes landed per minute, so the volume. Definitely not any defensive categories. And he does also lose control time as well. So then, yeah, we get into the ground and takedowns landed. It's all Islam Makhachev. Dan Hooker actually takedown defense in his last 5, 91.67%. Only 1 takedown allowed. 86% for Makhachev. He's got a 52% takedown accuracy in his last 5. We have positive differentials everywhere for these guys. Looking fantastic in their last 5. 18.36 ass whoop index for Islam, 0.71 power index, perfect chin dex. Dan Hooker, a little bit lower numbers, and that chin dex is not where you want to see it, but it's not too high. I mean, I love these positive differentials here. Categorical trends, last 5 UFC fights, Islam Makhachev actually trending down in most 7 of 8 categories compared to his career. The biggest one being takedown accuracy, down 13%. So that might be telling us he's leaning more towards striking, which would be good, against, I think he's got, as we discussed, he's got the striking numbers against Dan Hooker, at least defensively. Dan Hooker trending up in 6 of these 8 categories. Takedown defense up 11, almost 12% in his last 5 compared to his career. That's great timing for what's about to happen. Strength of schedule. Based on the last 5, Dan Hooker with the tougher strength of schedule here, and it's, not too close, a few points up. You want to see him 70 to 75 is about average, right where you'd want to be. Below that is pretty bad. Above that is pretty good. And Dan Hooker above 75 in all of these categories, with the strength of victory being right there. There are a lot of really good strength of schedules on this card. A lot. These are average for the card, which is crazy. Most cards, like last week, this would have been the top 1 or 2 strength of schedule on the entire card. So, my goodness, we're getting some good fights. Last 5, here's how it breaks down. Makhachev with wins over Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Davi Ramos, Arman Sarukian, and Cajun Johnson. Dan Hooker with wins over Nasrat Haqparast, Paul Felder, Ally Quinta, losses to Michael Chandler and to Dustin Poirier. So, no shame in that at all. Everything looks to be in order here. In fact, Dan Hooker lost the Dustin Poirier fight with a positive ass whoop index. Now, what that is it basically tells you who won the fight when you take out the round-by-round scoring. It's just based on metrics. He actually outstruck Dustin Poirier in that fight. He landed 4 takedowns to 1, and he outcontrolled Dustin Poirier also. Interesting. Ended up, metrically winning that fight. That would have been humongous. So that's how those break down there. Islam Makhachev, graphical representation here of a couple of categories. He is arm and leg above his opponents here. Arm and leg. Trending up in every category except for takedowns. He's barely trending down, but he's 5-1 against his opponents there over his last 5. Dan Hooker, smashing his opponents as far as volume landed, but he is trending down. Takedowns, he's killing the game and trending up in his last 5. And control time, same thing, 25 to 420. This guy's killing it. Some good-looking graphs from both guys. I got to give the edge to Makhachev, though, on those graphs. Visual statistical recap. Big area here for Makhachev. Big for Hooker as well. Definitely got him on the distance percentages there. Professional fight finishing metrics. Hooker has been finished, knocked out, and subbed. Makhachev never been subbed. His 1 loss was a knockout. And then the strength of schedule is going to be Dan Hooker, with the exception that, Makhachev has not lost in his last 5. And we'll move on. Lastly, here are the aggregate win-loss and finish rates for the career and for the UFC career. This basically just tells me if a fight's going to finish inside the distance or not, or if I can, bet on it to finish inside the distance. 70% of their wins have been finish, 45% of their losses. Usually that goes down a little bit when you get to the UFC. You're fighting, better competition. And it is down a bit, but it's still 65 plus 42, almost 43. We're over 100% there. I'm looking for this to probably finish inside the distance. That's where I would be looking. Let's get back up to the top, see what our odds were. Fight doesn't go to decision. Pretty much even odds right now. Minus 104 on the aggregate. Minus 130 does go. So maybe that'll get, I don't know. Is now the time to bet on that, or do we wait to see if it swings for plus money? I don't really mind a couple of cents there. I might just play that minus 104. Kind of like that line. Other than that, man, I love Dan Hooker, but I don't know about this one. Islam Makhachev might just be too much to handle. It's really going to be difficult for Dan Hooker to get much going against, I assume he's not going to try to take Islam Makhachev down. Islam's got the 9 submission victories. Hooker also has submission victories, but he has submission losses as well. God, I don't know. I assume he would just try to outstrike Makhachev, but even that's going to be a little difficult. He does have the huge reach, so Makhachev would be smart to get inside, clinch up where he has the advantage, take him down where he has the advantage, and basically work like that. I mean, Dan Hooker fought 30 days ago. He didn't take much damage, but he did fight 30 days ago. I don't know if, Islam Makhachev in Abu Dhabi, that is a tough go. Dan Hooker has all my respect. I just don't think he's going to get the win here. If I'm betting it, I'm on the Makhachev side. I'm not laying that kind of juice, but I'm picking Makhachev to win, I should say. Probably inside the distance. Probably, you take your pick, ground and pound or submission at that point. So I probably wouldn't bet one prop or the other, by TKO or by submission. I'd probably just go inside the distance. We'll see what that line is. Actually, plus 137. So it's not huge, but it's plus money. If you're not even comfortable with that, fight doesn't go is minus 104. That's the other way. I might just play both of those. So anyways, we'll finish up. I'll stop rambling about numbers. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. That was Islam Makhachev going against Dan Hooker. Be sure to check out the prelim breakdown and the main card breakdown. Those are already out on my YouTube channel. You can find them just by a couple of clicks here. Be sure to like and subscribe so you do not miss any more Tipping Point videos. I do have at least 2 more coming this week and several more videos for the big fight card week as well. So thanks again, and we will see you in the next one. Arrivederci.